Hi everyone, and welcome to Gender Downunder, a YouTube channel about being trans and non-binary in Australia. I'd like to apologise first of all for how long it's been since our last video. Due to all sorts of technical problems, our last couple of attempts at videoing did not go well. They were unusable. So this is the next one. Taylor isn't here, as you can see. Taylor is going down to Hobart to be with their family, so they are not going to be in this video. But that's okay, because this video is the story of my transition. I was about 5 years old when I figured out that I was not a boy. I didn't know what that meant. I didn't have anyone to talk to about it. I grew up in a little country town, so I wasn't really exposed to anything like that. And gender was still a very black and white situation. If you were born with a penis, you were a male. If you were born with a vagina, you were a female. So I felt like I was in the wrong body. I just wanted to be like the other girls that I knew, but there was no way I could talk to anyone about that. So I thought I was a bit of a freak. Got to my teenage years, got really pretty depressed, because by that stage I was starting to know what my needs were and still had no outlet for them. I did start borrowing clothes from my sister and my mum when they weren't around, and that was a small outlet for me, but it was, as far as I was concerned, I was still just a freak. You know, there was no one like me in the whole world, so I felt really alone. So I got pretty depressed, and that continued on for a very long time. Then, probably in my mid-20s, I went to a Christmas party for the McDonald's restaurant where I worked. We call it Macca's in Australia, so if I say Macca's, I mean McDonald's. We had an end-of-year staff Christmas party, and I decided that I would go in a dress and with a wig and basically be the girl that I wanted to be just for that party. And everyone thought it was hilarious. "Oh, Chris, you're so funny." And I just let everyone think that it was just a joke, just me being my funny self. But it was a start, so that was good. So I'd broken the ground on that, and I started going to parties more regularly as Erica. And that was good, but I still felt like it was a very brief outlet, not very often. I would only ever go to house parties like that. I wouldn't go out dressed as Erica. Catching public transport would have been just too scary for me. So I didn't do it. I would go to lots of house parties though, and everyone was pretty cool about it. Anyway, when the internet sort of became popular and accessible to everyone, I was able to learn a little bit more about transgender and gender non-conforming, and I realised that I wasn't alone, that there were other people like me. At that stage it still seemed like there weren't very many people like me, but they were out there. And I started doing some research into how I could actually become a woman. It was all very intense stuff, and I was nervous about it. And the longer I did nothing about it, the worse my depression got. I spent a lot of my late teens and 20s pretty down, like not really wanting to live very much, because it all seemed so hard. I was a hairy guy, balding. I also struggled with pretty much all my relationships with women that I had. If I was stupid enough to actually confide in them that I felt like I was female, then a breakup would come pretty hot on the heels. I had one girlfriend who took me to a psychiatrist to try and get me fixed. That was hilarious. About probably 10 years ago, I was seeing a psychologist, and at this stage I was pretty sure that I wanted to become a female, and my psychologist was supportive, and we talked about it, and we decided that I would do a month living as a woman full-time. So I was pretty excited about that, and we planned it for the following, I think, February. So this was in about July 2010. And so I got some work appropriate clothing, and that was all going well. And then I met Anna, the lady who is now my wife. And this was in September of 2010. I was due to do Erica month, which is what I was calling my full-time month as Erica, in the following February. So we liked each other a lot, but we went into the approach of Erica month thinking that it was either going to be make or break time for our relationship. Hey, sweetie!
Hi!
My sweetie just got home. She's got food. We thought that maybe Erica month would spell the end of our relationship, but maybe it wouldn't, and we both went into Erica month knowing that that was on the cards. And it started. It was all going okay, and I don't know, I think it was about 10 days in, Anna held me by my shoulders, looked me in the eye, and she said, "I don't care if you're Chris or Erica, I just love you." She doesn't actually remember that happening, but it was a momentous moment for me. Like, I'd never had that in a relationship before, that unconditional acceptance. So it was a huge moment. And the rest of the month went really well as well. And at the end of it, I went and saw my psychologist, and she asked how the month had gone. I said that it had completely cemented my thoughts that that was the right thing to do. And she was surprised. She found that most of her clients who had done a trial month came back, and it had always been, oh, the grass is always greener on the other side of the fence. And they would come back and less inclined to make the move. I was the opposite. I realised that that was how I should have been living probably my whole life. And so I started working towards becoming a female full-time. I started getting hair removal on my face. I started off with laser hair removal and lost exactly 4 hairs off my face after 8 sessions, I think. So I had to move to electrolysis, where they stick a needle down into the follicle, electrocute the follicle, and then pull the hair out. And it's really painful. Anyone who's had electrolysis can probably attest to that. And I had a lot of hair on my face, so it was going to be a very long procedure. But me and my electrologist, we worked through it, and in the end I had to give up. I couldn't do it anymore. It hurt so much. We had hour sessions, and sometimes we would finish after 5 minutes because I just could not handle the pain. I'm a very sensitive girl. The other problem was that to get electrolysis you actually have to have hair, so I couldn't be Erica while I was getting the electrolysis, and this went on for a few years. So in the end I gave up. I bought a really good shaver, and that was it. There wasn't really anything left stopping me from becoming Erica, so I started hormones on the 27th of June 2015 and have been living as a woman ever since. And I've got to say, like, living as my authentic self is amazing. It's just, I had no idea that life could be this good this much of the time. It's not perfect. No one's life is perfect, but it's good. It's really good. And when I get depressed, I'm nowhere near as low as I used to be when I felt like there was just no future for me. So that brings us to now. So that's pretty much the whole story of my transition. There are a lot more details, but I don't want to make the video too ridiculously long. Next episode will probably be the story of Taylor's transition. So I hope everyone has a great break, if you celebrate something at this time of year, and I will see you in the next video. That's all. Thanks for watching Gender Down Under.